We are governed by the Open Meetings Law. There's a copy of it posted in the back of the room. There's a copy on the table. Do we have any public comments? No. So we'll take Mr. Scott's report.
Good morning, folks. We have two senior staffers that I would like to introduce and say a word or two. Julie Martin is going to serve as our general counsel for the agency, and Judy Carlin is going to serve as our deputy director. Julie Martin is, as we said in our announcements, has been practicing law for about 20 years plus. And Judy Carlin has been practicing law, and she has some experience in housing authorities in Ohio. So, Julie, want to say a word?
Sure. As Mr. Scott said, I've been practicing law about 20 years. My background in litigation, lifelong harassment. So I'm happy to be here, take over and get started and move forward.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you. Welcome.
I'm Judy Carlin. I'm also delighted to be here. I've been in Lasted for 4 days and was able to find my way to work this morning without a GPS, so I was quite proud. I am delighted to be here. I've been the HR director and attorney for the Youngstown Metropolitan Housing Authority for the past 6 years. And I find the mission and the challenges of working for a public housing authority unlike anything I've experienced in histories of government law, but a public housing authority presents the most unique and challenging balance of law and mission driven. And it's just wonderful to be here. Omaha's a big city, and I'm thrilled and privileged to thank you very much.
We've got the Ohio here, and then we sent one back to Ohio.
Yeah, we got the
Didn't even
best.
swap.
I did get some. I did get some.
Hey, there's one Ohioan that's going to stay.
I didn't want to touch on that.
They're in the Big Ten now. Hey, I'm good with it.
I think in reference to that, you look at that situation, what happened, and there's a tape out there that I'm sure everybody has heard. You really got to be cognizant of what you say. And that's, I say that to my staff, I say that we have a camera and everybody. It is just unbelievable the social media and how information is traveled. So I know firsthand situations like that. But it's tough. We're in a 24-hour news cycle world, and you just got to be cognizant of who you're talking to, what you do, and how you do it. Thankfully, our organization is transparent and we try to do things about the board, and that's a reflection of our board and many of our staff. So I did have one other thing that I wanted to talk to you guys about. We had a call yesterday. They want to meet via conference call tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. I don't know if Scott, I reached out and sent the information to Jennifer. It's on the repayment agreement.
Oh, okay.
So you guys are available tomorrow.
8:30 tomorrow.
I have to call in information. I'll forward it to you here. One thing with respect to that is Brad Ashford has run a congressional seat. We're going to be working with him very, very closely and making sure he advocates on our behalf in that area. Also, Senator Fisher has asked and requested to be put on this previously. So we're going to be in for a fight there. And I think the chair and I are going to be ready for that fight. We're going to be prepared. So that's really all I have. Do you have anything?
No, yeah, if Vice Chair, my colleague would welcome to, as long as we have more than 3. And then we've traditionally had Mr. Bradley attend or participate as the chair of the Finance Committee. So there's that tomorrow morning. I don't anticipate, we've worked well with a local head office and a regional head office, and I want to try and continue that relationship. I think that's important. We have some difference of opinions on some of the information we have. comments and we get some different opinions on maybe how to handle the situation. But I think, I'm optimistic that we can come to an agreeable solution for all parties. And that's my intent and that's my hope. I think we should work forward.
Absolutely.
But at the end of the day, you know, it's always going to be my position and my position with this board that we do as best we can. So,
Anybody got anything else? I'll be sending an operations report probably within the next couple of, next week, depending on the holidays. Anything else? Thank
Any
you.
other comments or input from the board? Okay, then we'll move along. Next item on the agenda is our consent agenda. Is there anything on the consent agenda anyone would like removed? Yeah, we'll pull the minutes because you want to. We'll pull the minutes. And my apologies for the lateness in a couple of the documents on the insurance. Not quite sure what happened there, but
We have to get some new quotes, and we had one that's coming through, so we got our quotes in.
okay. Is there anything anyone else has that would like to remove from the agenda?
Motion to approve items 2 through 10.
Second. I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call?
Commissioner Bradley?
Yes.
Commissioner Romano?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
Commissioner Bergman? Yes. Commissioner Grant?
Yes.
Chair Taylor?
Yes. Minutes.
It's just minor. The minutes noted that Commissioner Winford was absent, and I thought I saw that she came in late.
She was here. She was just 10 minutes late.
Okay, I thought it said that she was
Oh, you have her down as absent.
absent.
Okay. I just needed at the time and she came in. Sorry.
Okay. Then that takes care of her vote at the end on
Yeah.
a couple of items.
She was here.
That correction, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call?
Commissioner Bergman?
Yes.
Commissioner Grant?
Yes.
Commissioner Bradley?
Yes.
Commissioner Romano?
Yes.
Commissioner Watson?
Yes.
And Chair Taylor?
Yes. Okay. Move on to our support department reports. Finances. We don't actually have,
Yeah, we
this
don't
is
have
December, we don't have our
financials for
financials
the
yet.
month. Board meetings a week early, as it was last month. Financial will be the week before the board.
So how's it going?
Good.
I mean, you know, there's no financial, but how's it going? I mean, I think that's the question that we'd like to know. How's it going? Revenues, expenses, everything on
It's going
target or
well.
off target?
The income and the expense will be in line with what they have been over the past month, so some will be above, some will be below, but in general, we're doing fine. As we will also see, we'll have some camp transfers for the board to approve, which is just the movement of cash between the properties so that we have a good score with cash.
Is that what this is? Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that
At the end
what
of the
this
year,
is?
we just balance the cash out.
So we discussed that in finance on Tuesday. I kind of equated it to when you have a number of assets or properties and some perform well and some don't, you kind of, at the end of the year, take from those who have and give to those who have not. So, is there any other further questions for Michael? We did discuss, and just in case, I know, particularly when we have finance committee meetings on Tuesday, that the notes don't get out until usually Wednesday, and that, I know it's a challenge for Nicole to do. But we did discuss at finance that in the coming year, we are going to revisit having, at least on a quarterly basis, some AMP financials. So we will do comparisons on an AMP basis, and that would be on a property-wide basis, maybe where we're doing. We used to do that information, and then we had the FARS team came in and said we were getting too much financial information on our board reports, so we skimmed some of that out. But I think on a quarterly basis, it's useful for us, particularly as a board, to know how the various different properties are doing, how they're doing year over year, and maybe that'll give us an idea of where we've got some issues. I think most of us know where our issues are, but
And we set up those AMs, what, 3 years ago now?
it'll be
No, no.
2
years.
The amps have been set up, since that.
The zone,
The zones we set up.
Zones.
Yeah.
The amps-
And we haven't tweaked those since day one, have we?
No, that's based on geographical, in the units, so each zone manager essentially has an equal amount of amps in their zone,
Oh, okay.
units-wide, so. and it's in the same geographical area.
Okay.
You know, one of the things that we talked about lightly at personnel was how we, as we revamp and evaluate the performance evaluation metrics for staffing, that we also use metrics like this as well. So as that's adjusted and looking at that on a quarterly basis, it should also help with evaluations of staff and performance by facility and asset base.
And we've discussed sometimes, particularly with different AMPs, it's hard to compare AMP to AMP because each one has its own unique challenges, and some are, to be honest with you, some are easier than others. But if we've now done this, we've had this in place for 2 years, that the metrics I think would be useful on a personnel basis on year-over-year performance, comparison to previous years, previous quarters, and looking for improvement there, as opposed to maybe AMP to AMP, depending on which ones they are.
May I add that also benchmarks would be a good marker as evaluating staff, what their benchmarks and their goals are. I think most of our properties can obtain or exceed a lot of the benchmarks that we already have in place.
They're not too low.
Well,
We need to raise the bar.
that's part of the evaluation.
I noticed that in the finance committee report that there was an end of year report that should be coming. Is that something we'll be able to look at in November, or is that just a suggestion? Seems like we've kind of been discussing and it kind of gets moved on the next month. So kind of what is our timeline that is going to be in place to ensure that we're actually doing this stuff?
And
Oh, a year-end report,
financial report.
a year-end financial report.
It talked about here that the year-end AMP report.
Oh,
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
start that for the first quarter of 2015. That will have comparatives for first quarter of 14 and 15.
Okay,
Which,
gotcha.
That's required by HUD.
And that's part of the
So it's always been there,
going
we've never
forward,
looked
we want
at
to have better, at least on a quarterly basis, understand how these things are performing. So, yeah, we're talking year-end report in January, I think.
Yeah.
Is that going to be in January, we have at least a year-end analysis of the AMPs. Okay, so. And I'd like to, just from a year-end report, or actually not a year-end report, but a 2015 report, and Mr. Scott last month spent some time talking about what he wants to do next year. And I think our first meeting in January, I'd like Mr. Scott and I to maybe lay out exactly, we've had some conversations, but what we want to undertake in 2015 with Judy and Julie's help, how we're going to accomplish that. That's something he and I have been working on. We want to take a very hard look early on in the year to how we want to do, what we want to accomplish over the year, and then timelines and then how we're doing it.
With funds allocated in budget for strategic planning, when do we anticipate that being?
That presentation is going to go before the procurement committee. Steve's going to be working on it after the holidays as it pertains to the scope of work. Then it'll go to formal solicitation, and thereafter go to the procurement committee for a vote.
Or June.
No, we're looking at February. Hopefully it'll depending on how long we put out in the street.
No, I meant the actual strategic planning process started.
Well, we're going to engage a consultant, so it's going to be up to the board to, how fast we want to.
How fast we get responses.
The creation of that solicitation and kind of the components that we expect from our consultant, is there to be board input as part of that, or is that largely the staff function?
Good luck to you next year. Okay, all right, if there's no further discussion, I think we were actually on finances. Asset management.
Good morning, Madam Chair.
Good morning.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning.
We have before you our report. Just a few highlights. We had 10 properties that were at 100% and 8 properties that maintained a 98 or above average. Also, point of emphasis is the other goal is to rent more than what has vacated, and we achieved that goal as well. We were just off on our OHA percentage. We was just over 97 really to be exact. But if you have any questions, we'll be more than happy to answer. Also, our delinquency rate is still at a good percentage, but we broke our streak of having 0 late reporting to HUD. But like I said, we have still achieved a pretty high percentage that we're proud of.
Any questions or comments for Terrence? Susan, we've got a high report.
Yes, so the month ended with just one property had 2 public housing units, and then the Chambers had 1 tax credit unit property, along with the Ohio 56 vacancies. We are going to advertise and open up the waiting list the first part of January. We'll take applications for the Ohio 56 townhomes, 2 and 3 bedroom townhomes. And we do have a 4-bedroom straight tax credit available for lease if anyone receives any Section 8 calls for 4 bedroom.
Anything else for Susan or Terrence? None? We'll go on to Section 8. Morning.
Good morning, Commissioner. You have my monthly report. I'd be glad to answer any questions that you may have. I just wanted to point out a couple of things, is that we are currently working on our month-end and also our year-end to ensure that our landlords are paid timely, so that we can make sure that everyone's paid by the end of the year. And also, we did receive 22 additional dash vouchers for the veterans. So those have been added in, and we do have the funding on that. So we have a meeting scheduled with the VA on January 8th, so we can determine how we're going to get the referrals in, so we can get these vouchers and stuff as soon as possible.
Do we have any questions or comments for Joan for the discussion? Ohio, we did have a Ohio meeting last month. The minutes are in your packet. We've obviously, we talked about some potential developments that we may undertake with Ohio as a developer and under OHA. So if anyone has any questions on those documents or anything in there, let me know. Any comments or questions on Ohio? Not, we'll move on to Mr. Durant, capital improvements.
Good morning, Commissioners. Here my report from you. Well, highlights, we are still waiting to hear back from the state DD. I did make a phone call yesterday, but they are still not quite there with releasing the information on the $800,000 grant for RAD. So hopefully she thought maybe next week, so we'll see. But we're optimistic that maybe we'll be able to get something out of that grant. It was 800 pages in the book, and I spent a lot of time putting it together, so we're hoping that we can get something out of that. So, UFAS parking lots, we are completely done with the UFAS parking lots, except Jackson Tower, which has been kind of in limbo based upon who parks there and the discussions with HUD. But our plan is to seek architect and engineering services to basically go into the towers and start doing the units inside as well as common areas to make sure that everything is compliant. And that should hopefully keep us in the good graces of HUD. On the GP&A, I still need to sit down and go through with the managers exactly kind of their properties. I want to make sure that the foreman and managers kind of agree with what the assessment put out. Because there was a pretty big variance between the one that was done in 2004 and this one, as far as numbers go. So I'm assuming it's probably somewhere in the middle, but I don't know that until I sit down. So I think it'd be beneficial to sit down with the managers and kind of go through some of the certain costs and the things that they're calling out, so that they have an understanding. Nobody knows their property better than they do. So
When do we think we might actually have a report that we can look at and?
we have a report. I'll send you a report. It's like this big. I don't know if you want to read it all, but the highlights of it. I haven't even read through the whole thing. I've read through individuals and looked at kind of the numbers and stuff and tried to compare them from the two. But
I don't want to have anyone expend time reading something you think needs to probably be at least modified based on.
And I think that was my concern as I started reading through it. They started calling out certain items that I know need to be replaced, that they thought didn't need to be replaced. And so I started raising questions in my head thinking, okay, were we at the same property when we walked through? Like, because I walked through all the towers and they started saying that, some of these things were in good condition. I'm thinking, okay, well, I mean, I don't know, maybe based upon some other housing codes, we just have old stuff. I mean, it needs to be replaced.
And I know that you've had other things you've been working on, so I appreciate
Right.
that. But it would be, if we could maybe shoot for January,
Yeah, I mean,
to have something that we could kind of, because I'd like to, as part of what we're doing next year, we need to incorporate
yeah.
doing this work.
Yeah.
So I'd like to start off the year with kind of getting an idea of what we need to do and where we need to be.
I'll get that.
Those were my questions. My questions were concerning, there was a comment in the report, I'm sorry. There was a comment in the report about dedicated staffing and that this would be an intense process. And so I wondered, does that mean that there's an anticipation of incremental staffing? Was that included in the budget, we just approved? And then also, if you could summarize maybe just, when I say at a high level, maybe just by property, is it mechanical, is it structural, is it the HVAC systems, can you
That's a good question.
Can you estimate it?
I mean, unfortunately,
how the intensity of the dollars involved with this?
So, I mean, that's kind of it's a hard question because structurally these properties are fine. I mean, even south side that came out and said structurally, there's nothing wrong with those at all. Those things are like military bears. I mean, they ain't going anywhere.
Cautious more to knock it down.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the thing that I want to, emphasize is that we didn't spend a lot of time in these buildings, okay? And so to think that, we're going to go through and just, be able to pick up on everything. I mean, we spent half a day in a tower, and that was going inside the units and looking down in the mechanical rooms. That's not enough time. I mean, I'm just being straightforward with you. So I know the issues that they have at the towers. I mean, I know plumbing has been a huge concern. I've seen the plumbing stacks where literally they used to be this big and now they're this big. And so I know that's an ongoing issue at a number of our towers. The boiler systems, they have their issues, water heaters have their issues, but, we take care of those, as they come up. Overall, structurally, they're in good condition. They're just old. I mean, they're just showing their age finally. It's to the point where you piecemeal things together for years and years and years, and at some point you have to look at, okay, how much more can you bandage a problem? And so, I think, I know I'm not really answering your question, but I don't think I can't really give you a fair analysis because I think we actually have to do destructive testing. We didn't do any kind of destructive testing. We literally went in, looked at the units, looked at the kind of overall, it was put in 2008, the water heater and boiler. So, I wish I could give you, everything that we did there was a lot of assumptions that they were the ones put together. So I feel like this GP&A is probably not the 100% solution based upon just what my gut tells me, because I don't feel like we did enough investigation into property. Like if we were serious about the property and what we needed to actually do, we'd probably have to spend some more capital to try to figure out, okay, how bad is the plumbing? Do we actually need it? We need to actually scope the plumbing and look and see, and so I think that's something that we're going to have to talk about in the future. If we're serious about.
Do you think we've got enough from here to at least, to identify the areas of the properties that we do need to do initial investigation on?
Yeah, I think it's pretty basic, really. We look at windows as being, something that we could do. Kitchen cabinets, doing, plumbing, things like that. I think are going to be the main things. So I think those are all things that we consider. Overall,
Terrence and Susan can throw in if they have any other suggestions, but
I just don't feel like we spent enough time. I don't feel comfortable saying that a half a day in a tower is we're not going to find all the problems. And so until I actually talk to staff a little bit more, I won't feel comfortable saying this is what we do.
it
seems like you have an intuitive feel, though, about some of the issues. It would almost make sense to list all the properties and then list those, if you can picture a chart, properties and then the things, roofing, mechanical, plumbing, electrical, windows, and create your own little matrix based on your intuitive knowledge with a check mark if it's, hey, seems okay, an X if it's not good, and a question mark if you just don't know. Or it's questionable.
Sure.
As a high level, just, here's an overview of what I think. And then we can look at that chart and say, oh my God, there's a lot of X's and question marks in the electrical side or the window side or whatever, the parking lot side. And just as a starting point, maybe.
Yeah, and we have a pretty good sense of kind of where most of those things are. I mean, I think plumbing is probably one of our biggest
It'd be
issues.
fascinating to see that, and it probably would take you not very long to know.
Yeah, we can put something together, so.
Is the intent of the GPNA to provide just this kind of very high level, or is it supposed to be giving us more detail?
I think it was HUD's way of trying to figure out this whole RAD process, trying to say, okay, we know we have a $25 billion capital backlog. Now, what does it look like from each housing? I mean, they understand that, we have all these needs, and so they're trying to figure out, okay, what have the worst needs? In case you didn't hear, Congress did approve more RAD units, and so that's a positive thing. It tells me that they're obviously thinking long-term and trying to figure out, okay, how do we keep addressing these ongoing issues? Because God knows we don't have enough funds to take care of it all ourselves. So I think it's positive from that standpoint. And I think obviously all these things play into how we move forward. And so I'll definitely keep on top of that and teach you guys something.
We should have an operations committee meeting in January, so let's see if it's possible to target.
And I think development committee maybe again.
Well, development committee will be held again, but let's, this is an operations issue, so let's target having at least some information available for the operations committee to review, and then possibly, let's target operations in January, and then possibly share with development when it comes to RAD. Okay. Which ones?
Just as a matter of clarification, we are voluntarily moving forward before the regulations require us to move forward. Didn't we pay for this assessment? Didn't we hire?
Yeah, we solicited.
So how did they come in and not spend a lot of time in our properties and not give us did we spend too little money for what we got, or how did they come in and not give us what we actually need? Do we need to go back to the vendor and address?
Well, you bring up an interesting question.
Their performance.
I'm in a battle with them right now. I was not particularly happy with the outcomes and we have.
Have we paid
We
them
still owe
already?
them some money, and I'm doing that intentionally because I'm still not 100% satisfied with the outcomes. I thought they were. I won't put it out there because we're getting a camera.
That's okay.
I feel like.
But that's something we can talk about at procurement committee meetings.
Yeah.
Update us and let us know. Okay.
I'm not
I'll take
100%
it.
satisfied.
Okay.
Okay, and you've made comments over the past months in more than one meeting about your frustrations with that vendor.
Yes.
Do we need to take that up I'm sorry, Madam Chair, do we need to take that up at our next procurement meeting?
We can.
Why don't we put it on the agenda for that?
That's great. Do we have anything further for Mr. Durant?
Apologize.
No, I
Well,
think
that's okay, that's good.
No, but, and to be clear, when we have committee meetings, as I always encourage staff, committee meetings are not just simply to kind of deal with the action items, but they're to help, that's our opportunity as a board to help staff vet issues and vet items. Again, it's not the board's prerogative to micromanage what staff does, but it is staff's opportunity and Mr. Scott's opportunity to have detailed conversations with the experienced people that you have on the board to try and come up with solutions or address problems for that. As opposed to having to do all that at a board meeting and making very, very long. But so take advantage of your, please, again, I tell you all, take advantage of your committee meetings and utilize the board members that you have access to at those meetings to really get in depth on issues that you have and that we can be beneficial in helping you with. That being said, let's go to...
Madam Chairman,
Yes.
we can put a little pressure on them if we need to.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay? Yeah, understand what I'm saying? Okay.
I can give you the general counsel sometime too.
Somewhere, you know.
Oh, I have no idea. I've just been waiting so they don't walk out.
He's on camera.
I've been on camera doing this before.
Yeah, we
we'll
know.
be okay.
We've seen them.
That's good.
I'm on your side.
Sometimes people need to understand the difference. We can help them understand that in a different way. Go ahead.
Nope. I'm just going to point out to Julie and Judy, I'm not sure I'm going to let you know that sometimes we have a little bit of humor. So, okay, next item is procurement.
Good morning, Commissioners. We've got my report in front of you. I'm available for any questions at this time. I'd just like to point out that the wage and salary study is finally out.
Good.
It's advertised nationally and locally. We should have a recommendation for you.
Anyone have any questions or discussions on procurement? If not, we will move on to human resources.
We have two positions out, a clerical part-time and a paralegal position that we're reviewing applications. As you can see, we had 4 new people and 1 voluntary person terminated or left the agency. So, any questions?
I think it's, human resources is behind family and community services in your board report on our agenda, so my apologies there. Any questions on human resources or discussion there? If not, we'll go back to family and community services.
Good morning, Board.
Good morning, Sal.
Report from you, I'll be glad to answer any questions. Just a couple of things I'd like to point out. The housing authority again will be partnering with Earned Income Tax Coalition again to provide free tax filing for our residents. This will be at the Gateway Building starting the 2nd week of January. Also, the housing authority, we actually just went into a partnership with Crate to submit a oral residential disparity grant that was it was submitted last week. Actually, it will help us to do some things with somebody do at South Side and Spencer. We're working with ANOVA to actually spend some time in our senior time to really implement some soft skills, job employment for our seniors to actually do some part-time work, either for the housing authority or with other partners that we may have in place. The Good Fellow, we applied for it and they gave us 500 vouchers. That will be going out to all residents next week. Actually, it's going out this week. So going out this week. The average voucher is about $80-some per resident. So that's a good thing. Just to want to touch base on the REACT program. It's really been a great program for us. Since we started this program, we had 3 residents who actually left the program, and they left the program for actually a better job because they ended up getting better skills from the housing authority. So it's really been a good program for the housing authority. And the last thing, I'd like to thank the YMCA for sponsor the annual Thanksgiving dinner at Southside. We probably had close to about 700-800 people out there, which was a great thing for the community. So thank you for the commission. That's it. I'll be glad to answer any questions.
About Coach for Kids?
Oh, Coach for Kids. Actually, we was just in the room yesterday. So far, we got about 700 coaches that came in. So we're going through a sort the timeline. The last day for the coach, I think it's on the 9th of January. I'm not sure. I don't have the date, but yeah, we still end up got some used coats came in, but about 90% of them was brand new coats. So it was good.
Great.
And
Max Light Walker still cleaning for us?
Yeah, they're still going to be cleaning again for us. So thank you.
anyone have any questions or comments from Sal?
Just one, Madam Chair. How are we doing with the, with our clinics? Are we making improvement in those areas?
The last month we did a little better. The numbers went down this month. Actually, we were trying to meet with Rudy, who was trying to figure out how the housing code can help. I know last month they gave us some flyers that we sent out to all of our residents through Section 8. We probably sent about 4,000 flyers out, just trying to help them promote the program. One thing that we really got to engage with them is, if you want to engage with the residents to know about your program, you really got to do some home visits. You got to conduct some home visits. So we're going to try to talk to Kenny and those guys and see if they have staff that really can spend time out there conducting some home visits, telling our residents how important some of the programs are. But as an OHA, we really don't have the capacity to really do the home visit for them. But they can spend some time with us, both on our side and also from the property management side. So yeah, the numbers did a little bit this month. So, and it may be from us allowing other organizations who provided the same services in the towers also. So we just have to look at it and see how. But again, one of the key ingredients is really going out and conducting some home visits. I mean, you can put the flyers out all day long, but you really got to go out there and talk to the tenant and let them know how important it is.
Are there barriers to, just one other question I think, Sal, are there barriers to people in the towers, especially accessing the clinic? And what I mean by barriers, are there, only because I've heard some of this a little bit, that there's some fear of going down there, going to the clinic area, well, especially in the towers, because of some of the residents. Is that accurate, or?
We haven't heard that. One thing that we actually talked to them about, and I think we got that fixed. They actually had a public safety personal security officer that was walking in and out to the bathroom, to the vending machine with them. And one thing some of our residents thought was, we not got bad in here to have a public safety to escort you. And I think that has changed.
Okay.
But outside of that, I don't know. And also, the time that they open the clinic, I mean, they go to each building once a week. So we have to look at that also.
Okay. All right. They still got some work to do. Okay. Thank you.
So what kind of information are we able to gather, while still honoring confidentiality, around actual health outcomes associated? It seems like we're able to capture a lot of quantity information, not just with this program, but with all of our programs. But what kind of accountability do we put on our partners to actually help us understand, because this program is in place, we know that the health outcomes of the people that we're serving, or the educational outcomes or the employment outcomes, down the line are actually improving.
Good
Do we have
question.
any kind of data on that?
One of the things that we actually add with creating plans, we actually add an evaluation component that will allow, of course, both organizations cannot give us those information because of the law. Yeah. But what we add with this grant is add evaluation portion on it, where they actually get us as far as some of the benchmarks, some of the outcomes, and some of the feelings of our residents. And one of the things we add also, we did add some resident staff that also will be involved with this program. But with Charles Drew, we're talking about getting us some baseline information. We actually going back and forth on that because of the law won't allow them to share that information. So now they're doing just sharing numbers with us. So I don't know how we get around that to get some concrete information, detailed information outside of the numbers that they're giving us. Unless there's, you have any other ideas that we can.
It was pretty restrictive.
And I understand that there's a way to aggregate information, I think, is we're trying to understand, if we're going to put time and energy in implementing a program or a strategy, then is this actually making an impact? And I think as we look into strategic planning for next year, I think it's a really critical thing for us to be thinking about organizationally that all of our metrics we're measuring not only have a quantity, but a quality, cost, time kind of metric associated with each of those too. And so, we're gonna come on back and figure that
And you
out.
know, what we can do is, I will ask Charles Drew for next month to actually give us a detailed report as far as what type of services that the tenant had received, but not with the names, and see if they can provide that to us. I don't know how much,
They could give you the, the percent of clients with, cardiovascular disease, pre-diabetes, type 2 diabetes, obesity. I mean, general metrics like that, so that you know what the nature of the health issues are that exist out there.
I think that gives us the baseline, and then that gives us the opportunity to say, with the intervention, are they getting better? Or is that not the purpose of the program? And if it's not, then why are we implementing it? And then what other things should we be measuring?
Mental health is another area as well.
Definitely.
We absolutely get that.
That's a whole, yeah, big deal.
I know.
Madam Chair, though, again, just to partially answer Commissioner Berkeley's question, Charles Drew has just had a change of leadership, and their executive staff, there's some issues there too that still have to be addressed, and they're addressing those. I keep asking, periodically, because at some point in time we're going to have to say, okay, what are we doing? Okay, I will give them I'll give them the opportunity to get up and running and get up to staff and so forth, but we've had those clinics now for a few years, and it's time to get, pretty soon it's going to be time to stop the excuses or the reasons, and we're going to start having to get some things done. So I agree with you, Commissioner Berkeley, because they did have some turnover that was pretty significant.
Well, and I don't isolate this just to the health clinic. I think this is something we need to be considering across all of our programs. If we're implementing a program or a strategy, is it resulting in the outcome that we're trying to shoot for? And if we have a way to measure it, or if we don't have a way to measure it, then why are we doing it?
I think it's important that everybody needs to understand we're a housing authority, and we house people, and all these other programs are they augment what we do from the standpoint of measuring. And there's a bigger issue here. I hear the data and getting information, but the post-data analysis, we still have these challenges. And we talk about the health, we talk about the obesity, the heart, the hypertension stuff. We're still going to have these challenges and issues. Pre- and post-analysis of the data. As it pertains to capacity, this agency, we have limited resources, as evidenced by Congress passing a bare bones budget just last Saturday. The things that we're taking on, they have to be strategic in nature, first and foremost, but also everybody in this room needs to understand we're a housing authority and we house people, and that's our principal mission. The other aspects of what people do and how people live and some of the programs and services that are out there, I hate to say it, but it's secondary to what our mission is. And that is extremely important, because I know we talk about spending monies. We talked about salary study, we talked about the strategic plan. Those things are expenditures, large expenditures. And at this point in time, we need to make sure that we're real diligent in how we expend those dollars, those resources, because they're limited. I need to make sure everybody understands that.
I think we understand that that's the purpose of our agency, but I think also where you get tangentially from that is those programs impact our ability to house people. They also impact our ability to get people either to a point of self-sufficiency, so we're not housing and they're moving on with their lives. And so there's an education component, there's a health component that I think are all part of us not just saying, here's a place to live and have a nice day, but here's a place to live, and we'd like you to get to a point where you can live somewhere else on your own without living in our housing. So we have opportunities to open up that to somebody else who needs it and move them through as well. And I appreciate, and I know that at the end of the day, we've got to make sure that we have safe, secure, plumbed, those facilities being met. But, that as best as we can, we do need to try and support Sal and what Sal does, because that actually facilitates getting that person, not just where they're living, but getting that person to a better place in their life, which, although is not maybe our core mission, I believe when we did our strategic plan last year, part of our discussion was, or part of our core statement, our value statement was getting people to a better place. So, and those things all are interrelated.
And one of the things that perhaps could be helpful is the report and the information is great, but we don't really have a benchmark. So we have numbers, but we don't really know how that number correlates to what our expected outcomes were. So we have 9 households served for job placement. Are we above the mark or below the mark? Did we want 15? Did we have, and some of this will come out with our strategic planning also, but did we have a goal that if we had 20, that we have more people where we need them to be to create more opportunities for vacancies or something, but just some goals so we have the numbers without some way to measure the impact of those numbers. Is it a good number or a bad number?
I completely appreciate our core mission and our limited resources. And I'm not saying that it's our responsibility to be creating these measurement systems. If we're creating those partnerships and those organizations are the ones doing the work, we need to just hold them accountable to get the information.
That's where I'm going there. We need to hold them accountable
then why are
versus
we in that
us.
partnership? No matter who it is.
That's where I was going with it too.
And then step away from that, we are putting resources towards this. I know our core mission is housing, and then but we're staffing people, we're putting time and energy and resources towards this, so we should have good outcomes for it.
I just make sure everybody understands. And this is an awesome conversation because the people need to understand the folks that we serve. We can't just put them in a program. Everybody understands. We can't just put them in a program and after that program is completed, we walk away. This is an ongoing. Ongoing work, and this our staff knows this. And those are the challenges that we face. I look at Len all the time. We have some challenges, both of us in the South Omaha area, and a lot of people don't want to go on the Y for whatever reason, and he has had to change his scope and some of the services there. But I just need to make sure everybody understands, the resources, what our core mission is. Holding our partners to the fire is extremely important, vital, but also understanding that it's just not from folks get served that day, they're fixed that night. It doesn't work that way.
Our primary mission is not a social service agency, but there are aspects of what we do that are necessary there, but that's why we have partnerships. I think, Commissioner Winfrey, you have something?
Yeah, I just want to say, moving forward to next year's plans, I think we need to do something with the mental health issues. We have residents that have very bad mental health issues, and it affects the other residents. The residents are afraid to come out of their rooms. They're afraid they're being hemmed up in elevators and things, and it's getting worse. It's getting worse. So if there's something we can do with the mental health issues of the residents, we need to try to find a way to do that. And I agree with what Mr. Scott is saying, but when you place these people in housing, it becomes your responsibility.
I think that's an avenue where there are some conversations at the state level that are being had, and I think our community is becoming more and more aware of the problems that we have, not only with the capacity to serve people, but also the ability to serve people, because particularly with adult mental health issues, you have a lot of legal concerns with what you can and cannot do. So that's, Commissioner Winter, you were very right, it has been a problem, and it is an increasing problem along with homelessness. All these play together. And this is where we need to have partners, and we need to work together with other agencies. But we have an ability, because we have an access to a large client base that has many of these issues, we need to be part of those conversations. So through people on this board that have access to what's going on, Commissioner Gray, Commissioner Berglund, Commissioner Watson, as you become aware of conversations or initiatives, I implore you to make sure that our agency is part of those conversations, because we can be helpful, and we need the help.
Chair, Madam Chair, for a minute, first of all, let me echo what Commissioner Winford has said, because it's what I've heard. And I guess I'm wondering, at some point in time, as we're evaluating Terrence and Sal and others, as we're evaluating it, I guess I'm wondering if your idea, and I'm just talking about health now, because we got to figure out how to do that, or we got to figure out, what partners we do or don't need or whatever, or how we're going to measure. But I'm wondering if your idea of the home visits would be better, and we can better utilize the space now that we're using for the clinic area in some of the towers, and do more home visits. If that might not be a better idea, and I'm wondering if that ought not be a discussion that we have with Kenny and some of Charles and some of their staff at some point, because they're not getting the numbers, but the reason they're not getting the numbers might not be a result of their program. It might be a result of what Commissioner Winter was talking about earlier. Because I have heard it, and I've heard it enough that it made me ask about it today. So maybe the best answer for Charles Drew in terms of getting the numbers up, and for us in terms of making sure that we're doing the best we can to provide services for our residents, maybe the home visits might be the thing to do. I know they're not up in staff for that, but I think we need to be having discussions about getting them ready for that. If that might be the better way to go, as opposed to having them come down to a clinic area. See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Well, if the clinics are being underutilized, then maybe you redistribute staff.
Exactly. Yeah.
And one thing I can add, and I'll go back to what the chairman said, that the housing authority, we service thousands of people. So we get all these organizations. I get 10 calls per week. That's why the organization want to come in to partner with us. But one thing that we just started looking at, and we just started with like about a year and a half. When an organization comes to us to a partner and apply for a grant, what we need to really start doing is add on some budget items to allow them to pay for staff from the housing authority standpoint to do some of this work for them, instead of us spending a lot of our time doing that. And that's where the shortage comes from. And yeah, we understand that the housing authority, of course, are primary to serve the housing individual. You look at the Roswell HUD at change it, instead of funding program, now they're funding staff, where it will allow you to do what we call service coordination, get the partners to come in, partner with them. But we have to do a better job as far as engaging what services that we want these partners to bring in, instead of just going aside.
Well, and part of we keep throwing things in the strategic planning bucket, but it sounds to me as though maybe a portion of what is being asked for is to analyze what partnerships we have, what ones we should have, and how we manage those partnerships, and how we assess whether or not we need to continue those partnerships. We talk about, part of the strategic planning process is how we present ourselves to the community, how we're marketing ourselves, and what we're doing to change the image. Part of that is our partners. A large part of that's our partners. So that I think needs to be a part of that.
And so right before the meeting this morning, I had breakfast with a developer who's also a Section 8 landlord and also owns just market rate property, or non-Section 8 property. And the majority of our conversation had really nothing to do with the housing and everything to do with how are we transitioning people from being housed through OHA to being self-sufficient. And so the perception, whether or not it's something that's really a core mission of ours as an organization, is the perception from the community is we are integral in playing a role in doing that. And so maybe we need to change that perception to get our core mission more out there, or we need to play a different role. And I was speaking about the different programs and strategies we have in place. But they're eager and they want to be a partner and they want to see that those things are happening. And so,
And it's unique if you listen to it. I mean, I love occasionally sitting down and talking to Sal because he's got wonderful anecdotal stories. But what you get is, on one hand, we have self-sufficiency programs, and we are very active on teaching people or trying to teach people how to be financially self-reliant, how to be potential home ownership, how to care for their properties, how to be self-sufficient on one hand. And on the other hand, we have residents who have lived with us for 15 years, 20 years. So we have both issues going on, and so it's also, I think, not only perception-wise, but maybe within our own agency, we need to try to understand what is our goal. Although I appreciate and love that you get long-term residents that are good. Is that actually what our goal is, or do we need to try and get more of our residents into self-sufficient programs and those educations so they can go out and actually either live Section 8 or live in market rate or find a home, etc. Okay, anything else for Sal?
Oh, I think
I think we
yeah. Y'all just catching up from last month.
Yes,
anything else in this? And it's going to be an ongoing topic, but I appreciate if everyone can kind of keep in mind some of the conversations we've had. And as we go forward in January and February, we start the planning process, let's make sure we don't lose sight of these issues.
But the question you just asked really has implications for the services we've been talking about. So I think that's a relevant question, and it's part of taking a look at our mission. It doesn't mean that our mission, the way it is today, needs to be the mission for tomorrow. So maybe we do a mission review as part of that.
And actually what I will do as we go forward in next year is I will, just for everyone's purposes, is resetting kind of the report we had from our planning session last year and send it back to everyone just so you have the ability to, in case you don't have it, pull it up. Send it back out to everyone. Let's kind of take a look at that and start our next year from that point going forward as a starting point. So I'll take care of that. Next item on the agenda is public safety and compliance.
Good morning, Commissioners. You have before you my report. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them. The numbers of reports have kind of leveled off this time of year. That's expected. Things are quieter during the colder weather months. Our OPD continues to do a good job. If you look at the number of our crime-related reports and corresponding arrests, they're doing a great job on those things. So if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Any questions or comments for Chris? On to legal.
Ma'am?
Yes.
We had an incident at Underwood, and I told them to call you, and they haven't heard anything back about the lady. Someone came and messed up a power chair.
Okay, I'll talk to you
That's
in
what
the
I was
meeting and
going
get
to
some
talk
more
to you
information.
about that.
I haven't had any phone calls on that yet.
You haven't?
No. Yeah, I have not.
I'll see you then.
I'll talk to you
I'll
after
tell
this.
you one thing, but do another one, so they don't know our powers up.
Okay. Anything else for Chris on public safety? Mr. Scott says he will be a lawyer today. So.
Folks, we just have really one case, the second case that George Chola and Julie are going to get together on over the course of or tomorrow, actually. So all these other cases are really fair housing related issues. Some of these matters have been adjudicated already. So the report looks pretty good. We really only have one
George actually did a very nice job of getting rid of an awful lot of things before you came on, so we can start fresh. Except for that second.
And if you look at the next Reggie's report, the fraud report, we have $117,225 that we've collected year to date. For next year, we're going to shoot for $150,000. Actually, that's a pretty impressive report. Pretty good numbers relative to the size of the housing board. Any other questions?
Julie and Judy have been here both for, this is day 4 now? So, again, if there's anything we can do to help you, we're happy to sit and talk. We'll let you get your feet wet before we start throwing things at you. Judy, I would just, the only thing I will say is from my perspective, I would love to, after the first of the year, kind of get, after you've been here for a few weeks, to get your thoughts on how we operate here versus where you've been before. I know it's Scott's been there before, but just your experience on how we operate and your input on how we might be doing this.
I would have to tell you that in terms of fraud recovery, those are incredibly good. You don't see much. There's a lot of things you're doing, but
You can always get better.
absolutely.
Okay. Do we have anything else? Do we have any new business? Okay, I will actually just advise the board that we have some information from Mr. Scott for sort of a review. We'll be setting it out, and we'll be doing that during the executive session next month.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Second, roll call?
Commissioner Lindberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Bergman.
Yes.
Commissioner Perry.
Yes.
Commissioner Bartley.
Yes.
Commissioner Romano.
Yes.
Commissioner Watson. Yes. Chair Taylor.
Yes.
Thank you all, and
Oh,
welcome, sorry.
We're not done yet.
Oh, we're not done yet. Oh,
Okay,
and,
yep. So I will hereby call to order the annual meeting of the Housing Authority of the City of Omaha Board of Commissioners. Can I get a roll call?
Commissioner Lindberg.
Sorry.
Commissioner
Yes.
Commissioner Bergman. Here.
Sorry.
Commissioner Gray.
here.
Commissioner Bradley.
Here.
Commissioner Romano.
Here.
Commissioner Watson.
Here.
Chair Taylor.
Here. Do we have any public comments?
No.
No. Okay. We have 2 items of business, 2 action items on the agenda. The first action item is the election of a chair.
I would nominate Chair Taylor.
I would be more than happy to serve for another year. Maybe at the end of this year would be an appropriate time to transition someone new, but with what we have going on, so I think some continuity is probably in order, and I'd be happy to serve again.
I second the motion.
We have a motion and a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Lindberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Bergman.
Yes.
Commissioner Gray.
Yes.
Commissioner Bradley.
Yes.
Commissioner Romano.
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Chair Taylor.
Yes.
And hopefully we get that repayment done this year.
If you get an agreement, then we have to start paying them.
I know.
Second item on the agenda is election of a vice chair.
Again, I think for continuity purposes, I would nominate Karen.
Second.
Second.
A motion and a second. Roll call.
Commissioner Lindberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Bergman. Yes. Commissioner Gray.
Yes.
Commissioner Bradley.
Yes.
Commissioner Romano.
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Chair Taylor.
Yes. Thank you very much. We'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion adjourned.
Second.
Roll call.
This is my job.
Commissioner Lindberg.
Yes.
Commissioner Bergman.
Yes.
Commissioner Gray.
Yes.
Commissioner Bradley.
Yes.
Commissioner Romano.
Yes.
Commissioner Watson.
Yes.
Chair Taylor.
Yes. Thank you all very much.
The date-
Chair and I established that was my job a while ago.
Yes, I was wrong.
The agenda's incorrect, just